everybody, welcome back to another review of Abbott Elementary Season 2, Episode 4, here on Jade and XD's YouTube channel. This was a really touching episode.
It was,
we're getting ready for fall, so we're getting ready for like the feelies, all things that make you feel warm inside, together.
They say even kids have a cuffing season. You see.
Fair enough. This week, they tackle on familiar type things, this idea of wanting to belong in dysfunctional families and all that. So this week, Janine, oh poor Janine.
Oh,
didn't know how to
Janine.
cook. She's up here making ramen with peanut butter.
It was very love after lockup.
Yeah.
I told you.
She was making...
I told you about that recipe my cousin gave me. Because that was a very black moment where she was like, oh yeah, my play cousin just got out. He's the one who gave me this recipe. My cousin said, I know how to make a laxative. And I'm like, okay. He said, you take a honey bun and then you take a Snickers bar. And you use a lighter or whatever to melt the Snickers bar over the honey bun. Okay? Yeah. Then you put it in a clean garbage bag with a little bit of water, and you tie it up and you pound it together, and they're called steak cakes.
I could see how that would make you shit.
Yeah, that's why they call steak cakes.
Oh, my stomach is rumbling just thinking about it.
But I was dying laughing at her, and they're eating that prison food. Melissa said, "Are those pork rinds?"
Correct. Like, it was the ghetto.
No, I was like, I love what you trying on now. Don't play.
Same. So, Melissa got so disgusted with Janine's food. She was like, come over to my house. And, in true, Jacob fashion, he invites himself along.
No, this is YouTube. I won't. I just wonder.
Wonder what?
Nothing. But Jacob, I just asked so many questions around Jacob, but
yeah.
Jacob
likes to be a part.
He likes to be. I mean, most white people do. Most white people like to be a part until they don't. Whew.
Yeah. Okay. So they go over to, Melissa's house, and she teaches them how to cook, and it's fun, and she's just like, you people know nothing. However, we see that Janine is, being Janine and projecting and can't help but not mind her own business.
Yes. We also see an interesting twist. Which, I mean, listen, this is real life. Melissa comes from a cooking-ass Italian family. It's not often that the white woman got to teach the black woman how to throw down in the kitchen. But in the interest of black people not being a monolith, not everybody knows how to cook. Fascinating, I know.
I told y'all, I don't come from a line of cooks, no. I had to learn.
I do, but my grandma specifically, and my most grandmotherly grandma, cannot cook. That lady can make she can make tea cakes. Her spaghetti is, I told you I called her one day and said, Grandma, what you doing? Making myself something to eat. I said, what you making over there, girl? She said, I had a croissant, a hot dog, some cheese and egg. And I was like,
Everything but the sink breakfast, I see.
Her grits were smooth, but then she used to slap a piece of American cheese on top.
Oh.
You get hungry, she's like, you want some rice? Slap a piece of American cheese on top and a side of bagel bites. It was terrible. We stayed at the buffet with my grandma. But anyway, so yes, Melissa is teaching Janine how to cook. And this is where we start to see not only Janine inserting herself, but Melissa letting her guard down a little bit and understanding that even in Janine's lack of social ability to understand social cues, should I say, she's like, all right, let me just humor her because she's not going to let up. I know how she works. And it was a sweet moment where we got to see a little bit of Melissa's softer side.
Right. Meanwhile, back with the other gang, Gregory is having issues with a student, a disruptive student. And we've all been there, you know, we've all been in class and there's been one kid in the class that just like, nigga, shut up. Like, you just really want attention. Yeah. And my kid was a class named Brandon. He got held back, but that's none of my business. So, I mean, what you want me to do? So, you know, he's insistent that, you know, he doesn't want to discipline the child. He was like, you know, what should I do? You know, because the little boy is being rather disruptive, right?
Yes. He wants the child to be disciplined, but he doesn't want to be the one to do it. Discipline seems to be a very triggering and very integral part of his development as a person that we can see in many different instances. So,
right, you can tell this season they're delving into more of his home life, because throughout this episode you see him struggle with this idea of authority. You know, because he comes to his wit's end and he gets some odd advice from Jacob. He was like, you know, what do I do? He was like, send him to the principal's office. Now, back in my day, it was kind of like a last resort type of thing. Like, I don't ever remember, like, unless if it was like some wild shit, you know what I mean? Like, it had to be like, go to the principal's office. There was some steps leading up to.
The office was, it wasn't even the principal's, it was just the office for me.
Yeah, go to the office.
Go to the office, because, you know, it was usually for something egregious. Like that time that girl stole my shoes and we had to chase her. You don't remember?
Give me the story 140.
Busted. Had a pair of shoes. They had a blue mark on them. I know where it came from. So I was like, okay, I can't wear these on a daily anymore. Gym shoes. Put them in a gym locker. Girl comes through, steals my shoes. I go to gym one day looking for my shoes. Oh, my shoes not here. All of a sudden, a couple days later, I see this girl walking down the hallway with them shoes on with the blue mark. And I was like, oh, you the bitch stole my shoes. Bang, take off. Bang, she takes off. Bang, my homegirl Rachel takes off. Bang, my homegirl Shanta takes off.
Yes.
Got it down. Then my sister finds me in the hallway. She sees what's happening. She joins. Very TV, this very sitcom. Finally, I get her, tackle her down. Rachel sits on her. And I snatched them shoes off her feet. And then I cut them up. And made that bitch walk around with no fucking shoes. She's like, you wasn't even gonna wear them. I was like, I'm not putting my feet where your dirty fucking feet were, but you're not gonna wear them either.
Clearly, she needed the shoes.
It's not my problem. What'd you say earlier? That's not my problem. The level of empathy that I embody now, I did not have in the fucking 10th grade. Bitch, give me my motherfucking shoes. And nobody's wearing these shoes, bitch. I digress.
Yes. So, the little boy becomes more obnoxious, and he gets sent to the principal's office. On the way, of course, Janine, she butts herself in all through this episode, so we're gonna get back to her. You know, goes back and was like, you don't think that there's a better way to handle this? Like, go to the principal's office. Like, why would you do that? Skirt. Have a seat. you and your part. So
wait, but I did die when Mrs. Johnson walked by. He was like, "Ooh, it looked like y'all in a fight."
Yeah.
Woo, they little commentary be taking me down.
Exactly. So, you know, he takes the little boy to the principal's office and he sees, you know, it's ineffective. Ava has her own idea of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, you know, she don't really do her job. But in this episode, she really made sense.
For
this
once.
is what we were talking about.
For twice.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about, positive parenting and shit on the main show.
Gentle parenting.
Whatever. Gentle parenting, positive parenting, wuss parenting. I don't know. What is it called? These children are running y'all. They're running y'all for your coin.
XD said, all y'all kids bad as hell and y'all pussy.
Yeah, exactly. Mom, here, get the iPad. And that's all they wanted. You see what I mean? Running.
Do you
Not
think,
you
do
specifically.
you think I'm a gentle parent?
No.
I'm not doing a good job.
I will say
I was.
there are moments where you are, and that's where it's necessary.
Okay.
You know, especially, you know, raising a black girl. You know. But otherwise, no, you raise her urbanly.
I was trying
both of y'all raise her urbanly.
The other day I was trying so hard because she was crying. You know, she's sensitive. Big 3, all water. But she was crying because she got so frustrated in class because it was one disruptive kid. And a bunch of kids got frustrated, and you know how their school is, so they have a talking stick. You know what I'm saying? When it's that person's turn. I know. And they express themselves and all of that. Okay. So she tells me, she goes, and I started crying. And I was thinking to myself, now mind you, YouTube, because I know you are the derelicts of society. Excuse me. So you keep your comments to yourself. I only thought this to myself. I did not say it out loud. I was like, you start fucking crying. Cause this nigga is getting on your nerves. What? But what I said was I want you to understand that it is safe and okay for you to express your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that we can work on not allowing other people to affect us so deeply where it's, you know, over certain matters.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Then I walked away and I was like, oh, was that right or no?
Yeah, because you have to be like, God.
I'm like, I'm really, you know, it's like try not to fuck them up. That's what's constantly in the head, right? It's like, oh, we were fucked up. How do I make sure I don't do that?
It's like a game of risk.
Man, it's crazy. Especially when take a breath, take a deep. But anyway.
Oh my gosh. Well, Gregory finds Ava's discipline ineffective. And he confronts, he talks shit about, he asked Barbara to talk to Ava because everybody respects Ava. Ava's, you know, she's just there, you know, whereas Barbara is, you know, the grandmother Willow of the whole ordeal. Yes. Know? And so, you know, Ava essentially did to Greg what he did to the student. And this Ava's idea of discipline is like, you know, you embarrassed them already, sending them to the office and, you know, having them walk of shame and they crying and snotting and shit, you know? I need to boost their self-esteem somehow. You know, I mean, to be fair, she did have, it was like Chuck E. Cheese, although she has lawsuits against Chuck E. Cheese apparently. But she,
Charles E. Entertainment.
Yeah, Charles Entertainment.
Charles Entertainment Cheese.
You know, I grew up next to the first one, the very first one.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet it's haunted.
That's what we thought as kids when we went.
You see? How do I be knowing? Witch!
Yeah, and the building's still there, and the weird, creepy animatronic things are still in the windows. If you ever, it's in San Jose, right off Sully Road on the 101 Expressway.
Frightening.
Freeway. Mm-hmm.
Frightening.
It's wild. So anywho, you know, Gregory kind of understands, and Barbara, you know, gets in his ass, and she gives a speech of a lifetime again. Every episode affirming why she deserved this Emmy and why you should feel embarrassed of why she wasn't nominated for anything else previously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she tells him, like, Negro, you as a young black man who was a teacher, which is rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have an opportunity here to either have them, you know, respect you, you know, or otherwise. And she was like, you can't have both, and you know, you got to make that choice, you know. And he didn't want the kids to fear him.
Yes, you know? And it ended up. I also want to point out Mr. Johnson and his shame.
Yes, like in Game of Thrones. Shame. That they did to Cersei.
But what it ended up doing was reframing his thinking, because initially he was on some, you know, I'm the way I am because of how I was disciplined, and then he realizes, I think I've become the way that I am in spite of the discipline. And it didn't make me who I was, because I actually don't like the way that felt. When he went back and reflected on all of the things he was disciplined for, he realized how many of them were minute things, or things that are associated with being a child. And I thought that was a beautiful lesson in this, because it was a reminder, right? Because as we joke, we laugh about gentle parenting and so forth and so on, but we're also very adamant about making sure that we don't advocate for children getting beat anymore, right? Because what is that really actually doing?
Ineffective.
It's very ineffective. So. And that's not how you should raise them. This is not what happens. You don't go to work and mess up and they beat you. You know what I'm saying? You gotta teach.
Those days are over, honey.
Baby, lawsuits. I will own this whole bitch. But it was really beautiful to see that it was not only Gregory getting his thinking reframed, but as a society, it gave us something to think about. How many things have we reacted to when it's come to children, whether it be our own, our nieces, our grandchildren, whatever? How many times have we reacted in a certain way and not stepped back and just said, you know what? They motherfucking kids. Like, you're 8. Why would you think with common sense? You know what I'm saying? So you have to teach these things and figure out how to not let them get the best of you in frustration, and also putting things into perspective as to how they are developing and where they are, and how they don't deserve a lot of the harshness that we as adults put on them out of our own frustration and out of our own stress and our own lack of communication skills and so forth and so on. So I love the way that they always have a takeaway that is really relatable, actually, and very current. You know what I'm saying?
However, at the end of the episode, he does call his father, and he does revert back into this little boy, you know, sergeant, yes sir, type of thing. Meanwhile, further back in the episode, Janine and Jacob go over to Melissa's house. She tells them to close your eyes and walk in because she don't like stranger people in her house, and I understood where she was coming from the entire time. What? Right. Jacob just get up on the counter, sitting on it, and I'm just like, bro, what you doing? So was she. And, you know, she teaches them how to cook, and you know, Janine starts unloading like she usually does, about her sister not being close, and you know, she tries to encourage Melissa to get closer to her sister, because as the last episode we saw that her and her sister got beat.
Right.
So Janine gets this magical idea to bridge the gap between them by going over to her school, Addington Elementary, making like a peace offering so that she would come over. What I loved about this episode is the fact that they acknowledged the cameras.
Yes, the whole episode actually.
Yeah, they were like, Melissa was like, you brought the feds in here and shit. No, she said you brought the ops. She was cursing. She was like, I'm at home.
And even her sister was like, who the fuck are you? You got cameras in here and shit? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I love that part.
I did too.
Her sister came over by way of Janine's horrible gnocchi, which is very difficult. You know, I get it. Oh, by the way, Melissa and her sister beefed because of the fact that surface, she served a really bad gnocchi dish at her nana's funeral.
Deeper.
Right. She ain't, her sister abandoned them and for Melissa to take care of Nana all by herself.
Right. Because she couldn't handle watching the decline, which is another layer, right? That they might be able to revisit. It's like, on the surface, that may look very selfish, but then everybody handles things very differently. So that's something else that they can address later on.
Right. You know, eventually, you know, Janine is apologetic to Melissa, and she admits that she misses her sister, and hopefully that they'll be able to find some sort of peace. Which, you know, and you know, Janine is herself again, continuing to butt in people's things.
Which always ends up having a bit of a nice outcome, because we then also, another underlying theme that you can see too is that family dynamics are family dynamics. And so even though her and her sister's relationship looks very toxic to anybody else and tumultuous, it seems to be a source of comfort for them in certain ways. Certain behaviors are comforting for them. And while that may not necessarily be the way that we agree with, that's their way. And sometimes you need to mind your own goddamn business because you don't know the dynamics of somebody else's family.
Big purr. That concludes today's review of Abbott Elementary, Season 2, Episode 4. Yeah, a great episode. Every episode continues to get better after the previous one, and I can't wait for next week.
All right.
So, until then, America, auf Wiedersehen.
You've been real German lately. Bye.
I know.